Yeah. Oh, you're talking about a max melee damage series. Yeah, I've had that question a couple times before. I'm actually planning to do one, but the Arc devs nerfed everything kind of recently, and that's a bit of a disappointment because I don't know. I'm looking for some stability before I actually do a max damage series. Like I plan to do one, but I want to make sure the Arc devs will give us some stability before we. Hey, what are you doing down there? Hey, don't bite that! Ow! 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 No! Hey, stop! Ow! You know what? Hey.
Has anybody seen my turtle?
No, I haven't seen your stupid turtle. Welcome to Arc Max Melee Damage. I'm pretty excited. Alright, well, what is going on, people of the internet, and welcome to a brand new series that has been requested for as long as I can remember. And this is Arc Max Melee Damage. Now, we're going to be kicking things off with a bang here, so I'm going to be doing a lot of scientific methods to ensure that we have the closest to accurate results as possible. Now, I'm going to do a bit of a kind of an information type thing at the beginning of this video where I talk about what the hell was that Bronto doing, by the way, because like I turned on Playersonly to pause the game, I killed it, and then I unpaused the game, and it just sort of teleported onto the floor. So that. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about the scientific methods of testing that I'll be using here, and for that it basically requires that we have 5 Giganotosauruses, because the Giga is what we're going to be looking at in this pilot episode of the brand new series that I'm super excited to bring everybody, because it's been so highly requested for so long. And so, if you've done any scientific experiments, I myself am not a stranger to that. In fact, I should be working on one right now, to be honest, but I'm doing this instead. So, basically how a scientific experiment works is to get valid results, you would do a 5x5 testing trial. Now, normally you would have 5 variables, which were the first 5 things come from, and then you would do 5 of each of those trials. Now we here, because we're only testing the Giga and there's no variables to have other than what melee damage they have, are going to be doing a 1x5. So we'll have 5 Gigas, and basically what that means is we're going to be eliminating the 4 other trials because we're not changing any variable, you know. That would involve us having like a Rex, or a Triceratops, or a Carno, or a Dodo, and seeing which one comes out with the highest percentage. But since we're only looking at the 1 Giga, that means that we only have to do a 1x5 trial, which is why we have 5 Gigas spawned in here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking these Gigas, looking at all of their melee damages. We're ranging at about 120 or 130% to 175%. 115 on this one actually, so that's pretty low. And these are the 5 Gigas, so that's the 5x1 trial. So 1 Giga times 5 of them. So we have the 1 species times the 5 Gigas. So right now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding all the melee damage up, and finally, once we have the highest one, then we have our valid quote-unquote max damage. Now, it's impossible to know what truly the max damage is because of something called a cumulative frequency graph, which is basically a wave where 65% of the standard deviation exists in the first 2, the 1 minus standard deviation and the 1 plus of standard deviation. And basically what that means is that 34% is going to exist in the bottom standard deviation, minus 1, and then another 34 is going to exist above that. And below that, it can go all the way to 0, but that is going to be like 0.000000001% of the creatures have the odds to go to 0% melee damage. And above that, they can go to infinity, so you theoretically can have an infinity, to my knowledge, you can have an infinity melee damage creature, though it's not necessarily possible because maybe the Arc devs didn't code it in, but the odds of you getting that are 1 in, say, 17 trillion. Probably even more than that, just because of the way it's been coded in. But that is the mathematics behind Arc, to my knowledge, using the cumulative frequency graph. Now, we already do have a maxed out melee damage Giga from our 5, because we're going to be taking a look at the 5 of them here, and we're going to be doing the testing that way. So I'll put up some visuals to help out with everything. I'll do a 5x5 trial and try to do a bit of an interactive there. And I'll do a cumulative frequency graph in the behind the scenes of what I just said there. So we do have our max melee damage, which is this one here, and he is sitting at 255.3%, which isn't terrible. I mean, it's pretty low, but intentionally left so because the Giga is simply so strong, and it does have 300% melee damage, which is pretty nice. Now, how we're going to be looking at this Giga, how it performs, is I'm just going to kind of run around the map for a little bit. So I re-enable players only here to continue playing the game. And basically, I'm just going to be running around in circles, so. The Giga is kind of stuck on it, so I have to jump off of him and use the whistle command to get him to follow me, and here you go. Maxed out movement speed. Nope, that was muscle memory. Maxed out melee damage Giga with 300,000 health, so not a lot of things that are going to be beating this now. One thing that we don't have to worry about here is turning on Infinitestats, because, let's face it, this Giga can't really die from too much of anything. And at least anything that we're going to be using to test how strong it is. So, right now what we're going to be looking at is, because stamina is obviously quite poor on the Giga, turning on Infinitestats and trying out to see how much damage it can dish out. So, this is a random Paracerium that we can two-shot at level 56, which is pretty good. I mean, Paraceratheriums are always quite bulky, and you're going to have some problems taking them out if you have really anything other than a good predator like a raptor. If it's just a low level, we'll have some issues taking out a Giga, but this thing, definitely not. So there's a trike, level 4, one-shot easily. And what we're going to be looking at in a second here is we're going to basically summon in a Broodmother, and unfortunately this one gets caught up in my legs, which is a bit of an issue. But if you want to test any of this, you can check the comments and... Or not, I guess I'll leave it in the comments now that I've said that, but I usually leave it in the description. But I'll leave it in both the comments and the description if you want to test it this time around. And hopefully that will give you some way of really being able to test this yourself, because this Giga is an absolutely phenomenal creature. And whether or not it's overpowered is besides the point, because right now it's not about whether or not this is good for the game, whether or not it's fun for the people playing that game. It's just about how much goddamn damage this thing can dish out. And it is a lot of damage. You can see here the spider isn't even bothering trying to fight it. In fact, this isn't really an accurate testing trial because the spider didn't put up much of a fight, and I want to know just how long it took it in terms of timing to kill that spider. So I'm going to turn on players only. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to start a timer up to see how long it takes to kill the spider once I get on top of it. Alright, so I've got my stopwatch out and I'm waiting for that first bite on the Broodmother to see how long it takes it to kill it. So we're going to be starting up right about there. Alright, so I'm going to mark down this time as soon as the Broodmother is dead, because of course there's no way to beat an Infinitestats Giganotosaurus, especially if you're simply a level 1 Broodmother. Now, the Broodmother obviously can have some variation, to my knowledge, about maybe it possibly having different health at level 1, but I'm going to assume that because it's a boss, it has a stock health. It has a set health. It doesn't have a value that it can deviate from. So that Giga managed to kill it in 22.64 seconds. So we'll mark that down for future reference, and we will look back on how strong everything else fares compared to this Giga. So that is pretty much going to do from us. We have one more thing that we're going to test, which is the difference between this and a wild level 120 Rex. So we're going to go over here, we're going to re-enable players only, and then we're just going to see how strong this is, because the Broodmother taking 22 seconds to knock out at level 1 doesn't sound very impressive, but if we take a Rex at level 120 wild, well, we'll get a better figure for just how much damage this thing can dish out. So we're going to summon in this right here. The command for everything will be in the description in the comments too, so hopefully you can test this for yourself and just see the absolute hell that this Giga brings about. And I can't wait to see the walking apocalypse that the Titanosaur is going to be when it finally gets added into this game. So there's a Rex, and 3 hits is good enough to kill it. That's pretty crazy. But anyway, that's going to pretty much do from us. Thank you for watching the pilot episode of the Max Melee series. I know there's really no way to get the perfect, accurate results that I would like, and I'm sure everybody else would like, but this is the scientific method. And if it's good enough for science, it's good enough for ARC. So that is going to do from us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode of whatever we make. Don't forget to go in the comments and state what you want to see next, and I'll definitely be reading all that and taking into consideration. So we'll see you in the future. Peace. And what are you supposed to do to fight this thing?
Did it fix it? If not, How To Basics got a lot of explaining to do.
You finally hit level 60 because you're playing on a private server with your friend. There's 2 of you. And you finally got to level 60. And you get your level 20 Rex. Going up against level 50 Spino is not an easy task. But somebody should have told the beaver that, because